Okay, here's clay part 2, how to make a square container. So again, I've got a wet sponge. I'm just gonna wet my wedging board, make sure it's nice and dark. There shouldn't be water sitting on top of the board, nothing that's gonna splash up, but I am making sure everything is nice and wet. And I'll do this every 2 or 3 minutes, keep the board wet all the time. So again, you take your piece of clay and you wedge it into a circle. We always start with that, no matter what you're making. We always wedge it. The first thing you want to do is get rid of all of these kind of marks, anything like that, any creases. You can't use the clay. So you have to spend 5 or 10 minutes doing this, trying to get it as round as possible. So that means lifting it up a centimeter or so and pushing it back down. And I'm kind of compressing it, but I'm doing it really quickly. So after 5 or 10 minutes, you'll have all of those little things will be gone. And what you need to do is put it in your hands, turn it into a snowball. Okay. So now that we have a perfect round ball with no creases or marks in it, it's not dry, my hands aren't covered with sloppy clay because I didn't add too much water. I'll just one more time wet this down. This is super important with this one. This clay will dry really easy when you start doing this next step. And you want to make it like a hamburger. So I'm just kind of flattening it out with my hands, turn it over, flatten it again. So now I have kind of becoming a pizza or a pita or something. So before it gets too thin, I'm going to take a couple of sticks here and I'm going to lay those down on either side, and I'll take my rolling pin, and this will allow me, the sticks are going to keep the clay, me from making it too thin, and it'll make the clay all the same size because the rolling pin is supported on the sticks. See back here, it's supported on the sticks, and so when I roll over my clay, all that clay will become the same size. And you should flip this over. Do it there too. Oops. There we go. Now, you take one of these or a ruler, and let's say we're just making, I'll make it simple, I'll make a box right now. Save all this clay because you're going to have to reuse it later on. And I'm cutting 4 right angles, 4 straight lines. And I'm gonna have the first side of my box, like so, okay? And I'm just gonna, I'll cut my next side, I'll turn this into 2 sides. And I'll keep cutting this piece as I need to make my square box. So I'll just measure it here real quick. And now I can take these 2 pieces and I can put them together, and they'll stick now because it's wet clay, but you'll find it often helps to just get a board and put it on there at this point when you want it to dry out. Anytime you join 2 pieces of clay together, you have to score and slip them. So I'm going to score this. And again, remember from video 1, you're roughing this up as much as possible. This clay won't stick like this. You're trying to rough it up, and we'll wiggle it together, and that clay will have a nice bond. So both sides of the clay are going to get really, really scored up here in multiple directions, as deep as I can go without wrecking my clay. And so it's really rough, okay? I'm not just drawing on it, I'm making it really rough. And then I will put my slip on there again. So I'll paint this on. This is gonna fill up all those little holes. You can't have any little air holes. And this slip is just clay with water added to it. There's nothing magic, it's not glue or anything like that. You're just filling up holes right now with it. So see all how the little holes got filled? You don't want any air pockets in there. And I'll take those 2 pieces of clay and I'll kind of wiggle them together so you can see how that's happening there. And then the last step is to take either a tool or your fingernail and do this little knit over top and make it nice and smooth. And you'll notice it's not smooth right now. So always, the final step is always to go over the clay with a sponge. And you might need to let it dry out for a couple hours and then go with the sponge, and you can get it super smooth. So you can see that that seam that is here should be almost invisible if you've done it right. Okay, and then that's one wall. I would do the same thing on the inside. And then I'll go around all the way and do all the walls. And then I'll make a lid the same way, all off of this single piece of clay that I rolled out. You might need to do it 2 or 3 times. Always when you're done, you put your clay on a little board like this, put it in a bag. The bag will keep it from drying out overnight. Get as much air out as you can without squishing your clay. Tuck everything under, and you can put that little package into your drawer. And then you're gonna take all your other clay that you're using, same thing, put it all in another bag and put it in your drawer until tomorrow.